If you clicked on this video, you probably need help boosting your damage in Genshin. Now there are so many ways you can fix your damage in Genshin, but this is a complete guide where I've compiled all my best tips for how to improve or fix your damage overall. Timestamps are in the description if needed, but I will go in chronological order, so if you want to do things step by step, feel free to watch this video from start to finish and follow the tips in this specific order. Also, for the sake of saving your resources, since I know that we're all going broke on Mora, EXP, and practically everything, I've put the tips in this specific order so that you are maximizing the results you get from the resources that you put in. So without further ado, let's get started with this video. But first, a word from our sponsor. I love making things aesthetic, but some of your average browsers don't have that level of customization that Opera GX has. Want to make your browser just as unique as you are? Then Opera GX is the perfect tool for you. Show off your favorite Genshin characters, colors, or games with the endless customization features that GX has. With some of the latest updates, Opera GX has way more customizable features where you can make your browser truly yours. You can even match the browser to your setup. I've been using Opera GX way before they reached out, and I can confidently say this is better than your average basic browser. I literally feel transported to Inazuma with this one. If you're not set on Opera GX, here are a few of my favorite customizable features you can experience for yourself. First, a ton of unique wallpapers, from animated ones to ones that react to things you do on screen, and most of them even come with a light and dark mode as to not blind you while you're browsing at night. There are a lot of sounds everywhere, including background music, special keyboard clicks, opening and closing tab sounds, and more, all of which can be fully customized. Some other cool stuff includes custom animations for opening the browser, UI icons, and the Opera GX icon in itself, and even shaders to make your browser look unreal. Check out some of these cool Genshin mods that I found you guys might like since you are all Genshin fans. I highly recommend you guys check them out. They're super aesthetic and super pretty. But I have to show you my favorite feature that I use all the time, and that's the video pop-out, so you can watch your favorite YouTube videos while playing for long hours on Genshin or doing whatever it is you need to do, along with a little video to keep you entertained. Opera GX is completely free and you can get started right away. Don't worry if you already use a different browser, it's super easy to move everything over and start where you left off. Just click the import button and you're all good to go. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description to get started making your browser just as beautiful and aesthetic as you are. Okay, now back to the video. It all starts with step number 1. Let's say that we were trying to raise damage for Yanfei. The first thing you should most definitely do is to make sure their weapon is at max level, and also make sure that you have their best weapon on the character. You can go to the training guide to see what weapons are most used, and clearly the results here are Skyward Atlas, Dodoko Tails, and the Widsith. Since I do have Skyward Atlas, I am going to be using it, but the key thing is to make sure that their weapon is at max level. The reason being is that your weapon provides your base attack, and when your base attack is as high as possible, then it's more likely your character will do more damage. So before anything, make sure that their weapon is leveled up. Also, another good reason why leveling up weapons is better to level up before the character is in case you decide to change your mind and not use that character, you might be able to use that weapon on a different person. For example, if I don't want to use Yanfei but I still want to use the weapon, I can switch the weapon to another character that possibly needs it so that they can do the damage as well, since a weapon is transferable and character EXP is not. The next step to fixing your damage is to make sure you're leveling up the specific talent that is the one that does damage. So if I was trying to do more damage with Yanfei, I would level up her normal attack or her skill if these are the ones that I'm going to be using. But if it's a character like Venti and I don't use his normal attacks, then I'd only level up his skill. Usually for main DPSs you want to level up their normal attack, but in the case of a character like Raiden where you're going to be using their burst for most of your attacks, then make sure to prioritize their burst. Again, if you need help, you can always look at talent reference upgrade or look up a guide online to see what you need the most. It's very important that you level up the specific talent that is going to be dealing most of your damage instead of all the other talents, just so that you can save on talent books. Because if I only was using Yanfei to skill and burst and not her normal attacks, then there's really no point in using your resources to level up her normal attacks. The last character related thing to level up before checking on character level is to make sure their artifact set is the run you want. It doesn't have to be a perfect 4-piece set as long as you're satisfied with the artifacts that you have on them, such as this one which has crit rate and crit damage, or any other artifacts that have the desired stats and substats. For weapons and artifacts, you can level these things up before you even get the character, and I highly recommend leveling them up before you level up the main character itself. As for talents, they are locked by level, but you will want to prioritize weapon and artifacts to fix first, since these can be your main source of damage, and having the wrong artifact set on a character can really hinder your damage or boost it depending on what you have. The same thing goes for the weapon. Make sure you have a weapon that fits that desired character, and you will be able to do more damage with them. If you have a main DPS but only have a support weapon, it's best you switch it out out for the weapon that will suit their playstyle the most. Once you have fixed everything from weapons and artifacts, you can start leveling up the character itself. This is so you can also get their ascension stats, but also so you can unlock talents as well. Just remember, it's still possible for a low-level character to do a lot of damage if they have the correct weapons and artifacts, and if talents are leveled up to a certain level. But let's shift our focus away from the character itself and more about party setup. Obviously in Genshin Impact, this is a game all about elemental reactions, so you will want to choose the best elemental reactions for that character. There are a lot of reactions in Genshin and a lot of characters for those reactions. However, just remember that there are some characters that favor certain reactions over others. Those characters can be someone like Kinich, which works well in Burning and Burgeon comps, or someone like Chevrus, who really works well with Overload. If you're trying to level up a character with that type of playstyle, if you really want to maximize their damage, put them in their best team. It's really helpful to look up guides to see which team your character plays well with, just so that you can prioritize leveling up those support characters to support your main DPS more. Back to the Yanfei example, she is very flexible when it comes to teams. However, if you check my elemental reaction guide, you will know that Melt and Vaporize are some of the strongest reactions in the game because they can crit, so I might want to pair her with a Hydro or Cryo character so that she can do some pretty good damage. If you're curious to see more about elemental reactions and how they work, feel free to check up the guide in the corner, or it's linked in the description. But anyways, the main point is to make sure you're putting your characters in teams that have strong elemental reactions, or that they are pretty consistent. What I mean by consistent, I'm talking about teams that don't really have one single elemental reaction, or the reactions are kind of weird. A team such as this one, forgetting about the characters and let's just focus on the elements, these elements don't necessarily work that well together. There is way too much going on here, and they don't really help each other that much, which is why you might want to prioritize one or two reactions in a team in itself. Maybe something that looks a little bit more like this, where there is Vaporize and Melt, as well as Frozen. Depending on the teams that you put your character on, you will be able to do a lot more damage if that team suits your character the most. Now it is time for another crucial role when it comes to dealing more damage with your DPS, and that is support characters. Finding the right support characters is very important when it comes to dealing more damage. But if you are still new to the game or don't have a lot of strong built support characters, here are ways you can combat that. The first one is with support weapons. We all know that Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers is a really strong support weapon because it can increase the attack on the character that you switch into. So having this weapon on a support character will be really helpful. And since it's a weapon, it doesn't really matter the character that you're playing it on. Or if weapons are not really your style, we have a ton of support artifact sets. The oldest one being Noblesse Oblige, which you probably have a lot of, or if you don't, you can easily get it in the strongbox. But basically, these just boost any other character's attack once you use someone's elemental burst, so they're often played on support characters that frequently do their burst, such as Bennett. We also have the 4-piece Viridescent Venerer set, which decreases elemental resistance to opponents that the element is swirled by, which is basically a must-have if you are running an Anemo support. If you need some recommendations on support characters, here are your must-build characters. Bennett is really good because he can heal, boost your attack, apply pyro, and so much more if you have him in your team. He's also a great battery for energy recharge. Sucrose is also a really good character because of her swirl effect, and can run the Viridescent Venerer set as well as Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers. Same thing with Xingqiu. If you have him on an energy recharge sword, he can generate a lot of hydro particles for you, as well as apply hydro really consistently in your team. Xiangling is another must build because of her attack boost, and she can run the catch and deals a ton of damage with her Pyronado. There are a ton of other support characters that you can play for reaction specific ones like Chevrus or Charlotte, but a lot of the 4 stars do tend to be support characters. If you are having trouble deciding which character works best with who, you can always do your research or ask people for help. I have my Discord server linked in the description if you want to ask for help there, or you can read every talent description for the characters to see basically what they do and find characters that pair well with them. Just remember that a team full of DPS characters might not be as strong as a team of support characters with one main DPS. Although they are strong individually, a lot of these DPSs need their right supports in order to do the most damage possible, so setting the teams up correctly is going to be your key thing in order to deal as much damage as you desire. If for whatever reason you have done everything to try and maximize your damage as much as possible, and I guess it just doesn't seem to be working the way you want it to, like let's say you're in Spiral Abyss and you just can't defeat an enemy, just remember that there is a chance that that enemy you're trying to defeat has a resistance. A lot of specific enemies have their own different resistances, so some elemental reactions might not be as effective on those enemies. So if you are going into Spiral Abyss and you want to do more damage, make sure to check which enemies you're fighting against and choose characters or teams that can work work around these enemy resistances. If your account is still stuck and would like some help deciding on which characters to pull for so that you can take your account out of the gutter and bring it to more success, here are some characters I'd highly recommend if you are looking for a new DPS or supports. The first one is Kazuha because of his burst and he can run viridescent, as well as Raiden because of her energy recharge for her burst, and also she can do a ton of damage. I'd also highly recommend Farina because she is basically the strongest support in my opinion. She can work well with so many teams and she's really flexible, which is why I love playing her in any team that I get the chance to. In terms of DPSs, Neuvillette is also a really strong DPS, and I'm pretty sure you've heard people recommend him all the time. As someone who's played Neuvillette for a while, I really do like his playstyle, and he's also pretty flexible when it comes to teams, my favorite being Electrocharge Swirl. Navia is also a really strong DPS, and since she is on the banner, you might want to pull for her. I really do love playing Navia because she's also flexible when it comes to support characters, and also her elemental skill does a ton of damage, and you don't even need her signature weapon to do so. Lastly, I want to mention Hu Tao. She's a great DPS. I know she's an old character, but she can still do a ton of damage, and since her support is Xingqiu, who is extremely accessible, she is a great free-to-play option since she doesn't require advanced supports like Neuvillette Farina, and she's also super easy to understand how to play, so learning her team rotations and setup won't be that difficult. Anyways, so those were my tips for increasing your damage in Genshin, or at least fixing characters that have some damage issues. If there is a specific guide video you want me to make, feel free to leave it in the comments. I will be happy to read all your requests. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I know this video was short, but we have more videos coming in the future, so stay tuned for that. And as always, good luck on your pulls, and I hope to see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye!